All right. Welcome back to the Global Giving Women Fair Game podcast. I am here joined by my amazing co-host, Lauren and Brian. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. I'm excited for another one-on-one intro outro.
It's always funny when it's you and I together. I think it's like the pure happiness, and then I kind of just mesh it up just a little bit, just in the middle. It's definitely a good vibe. I think you and I make a good episode together.
Got a good thing going. And we're missing Anika today. Anika, we miss you, but she is living her best life, holding down the fort in Connecticut. She has been having the most amazing travels this summer. Paris for the Olympics. Oh my gosh, just jealous of all that amazingness. So she's catching up. We miss you, Anika. We'll see you next time. Well, I'm so thrilled about today's episode. And what I'm most excited about is to have Sue Schneider on here. And this is actually going to be the first interview that she's ever done that is holistic about her career journey, which blows my mind. Sports betting, Hall of Famer, like Sue is such a legend in the industry. And I'm like, ooh, I am so excited to dive into origin story, how she got to where she is, all the amazing things in the spirit of the theme coming up with G2E in a couple weeks, right, of industry events and the amazing culture and evolution of the industry.
I'm pretty excited to hear her journey. She's a legend. So this should be pretty cool. I'd like to get to know her a little bit. And I think this is the perfect way to do it.
Oh, for sure. And yeah, for those of you who did not listen to our first episode, definitely go back because I tell a little anecdote about, Sue is literally the catalyst for me being in the casino gaming industry, for me being a part of Global Giving Women. So I adore Sue. And I adore this industry too. So I'm really excited to talk about culture and events. And obviously, as we all know, right, like literally what I do for Insight Global is sales and marketing strategy, ROI optimization around external events. So, industry, networking, event, like it would be, I can't believe I get paid to do it. It would be my social life anyway, outside of my job. I adore it. There's just nothing like an industry event, it's the updated trends, right? Meeting your customers where they are, getting together with your networking friends, right? The energy that just happens when you're all together. What do you like? What have been your favorites? What do you love about it?
Yeah, I've done a lot of G2Es. I'm not going to say how many. I know it's a lot. G2E is my favorite, right? It's the biggest one. For me, it's the time where everybody comes together, and like you said, the culture of this industry is so strong, and it is a really unique one.
Exactly.
And these circles are really small.
Yeah.
Right? Like you know people from the start of your career, and you see them at G2E.
Yeah.
And it's been a year since you've seen them, but you pick right back up and you connect. And I think that that's a really cool part. I also love, from my perspective, showing new product.
Yeah.
I think that's the big thing. Like, our studios are incredible, and they make some really cool games. And the fact that we get to go out there and show the world those games is really, it's an honor, right? So it's really cool to get out there and show product and just talk to people. Like, you lose your voice at the end of the week, and you just talk so much and you hang out, and it's just a really cool time.
Yeah, it's a party. And yeah, I agree. All the Buffalo updates, love to see them.
Always.
Thanks for Aristocrat.
Always Buffalo.
Yes, but I like have that sound stuck in my head like every time I think about slots. But no, I completely agree. You're so right? Like, what we have is so special. It's so tight knit. It is so cool to see the evolution. Like, our industry culture is just, it's so remarkable. There truly is nothing like it. And even Insight Global, like, we're industry agnostic as a, recruiting and professional services firm. So we used to joke we would, place anything but a nurse. And then during COVID, we opened up Insight Global Health. So we literally do it all. I'm very proud, second largest. But right. So I've had the luxury of having exposure to so many, different industries throughout my 9 years with IG. And not to play favorites, but casino gaming is by far the best. Oh my gosh, the culture.
It's the most fun.
Yes. The innovation, the invigorating, right? Like, being a part at especially such like a golden age as we're experiencing right now. And it's so fun. It's entertainment,
It's definitely entertainment. I think I said this in an earlier episode. Like, how cool is it that we make games?
Yeah.
And like,
exactly,
show them off.
Like,
to the world.
Literally, like, create
really
joy for people. Yeah,
absolutely.
Do you have any like epiphanies or like moments where you were like, wow, this industry, this culture, this is so special. I'm never leaving.
Well, no, I it's not through a trade show for me. I think back to my childhood, and like most people had like, Segas and Nintendos. No, not me. I had a IGT Stars and Bars game and a video poker machine in my house. So like, I don't know, gaming was just, very, so like, I just have constantly been surrounded by gaming in the casino industry. And it was just something for me that, I kind of knew from a really early age that was intriguing enough for me to look at. And then once I was in, And it's kind of one of those things where it's like you're a lifer and you're not
Yeah.
going to go anywhere. And I don't want to go anywhere.
Yeah.
It's too fun.
Exactly. It is so fun. And actually, I'm realizing this is like a really perfect like dichotomy of perspective. Like born and raised in Vegas, gaming family, that's like what you're coming from. And then, right, I didn't honestly touch a slot machine until I moved to Vegas 4 years ago. So growing up in Virginia. So yeah, really interesting dichotomy of perspective. And yeah, I totally agree. I mean, honestly, like this was one of the big reasons that I decided to stay in Vegas and not move back east like originally planned. And also like to your point about, maybe your realization about the culture wasn't necessarily through a trade show. I would say mine was actually through Global Gaming Women. So even related to industry events, not necessarily a trade show, but it was actually right around the time that I was supposed to be moving to Atlanta. This is like fall 2022. And I kept pushing out my date. I did the W Leadership Development Conference.
Oh, good one. Yeah.
And I still look back on that with such fondness. Like it's probably one of my favorite, weeks when I think back to Vegas. Cause when I think of my time in Vegas, cause it was also our first, I just joined the membership committee and it was the first like event that I planned for GGW as well. It was like the Friday after our W Leadership Development Conference. And I was like, I love this.
You're like, I'm not like, push out Atlanta. I'm not going.
Yeah. Yes. I was like, I don't think I'm going to move. Yeah. It was interesting. I actually went to Atlanta, I don't know, 2 weekends after that. And I was like, okay, if everything's perfect, maybe I'll still move. And everything was perfect.
Oh no.
And I was like, I still don't want to.
Why did I say that?
Yeah.
I don't mean it.
I know. I was like, okay, everything literally was perfect. So I'm definitely staying in Vegas. But yes, we have it so good. So yeah, excited to dive into this interview with Sue. And just as a reminder for everyone, right, for a beautiful spotlight series, the reason that we do this, stories are permission slips. Yeah, you never know. Yeah. When hearing someone else's journey is you're going to strike a chord, resonate, and become the catalyst for beautiful changes in your own life, career, et cetera.
Yeah, give you the inspiration to do something cool.
Yes. Yeah. So Sue Schneider, right, most recently known as Vice President of Growth and Strategy at SBC Americas, their conference organizers and media production company in sports betting and iGaming. She's also a sports betting Hall of Famer. I think I just mentioned that. And there is so much more to Sue's journey. So like I can't even, consolidate it all in a little intro, but we're about to hear it in this interview. So let's dive into it. Let's bring Sue in. All right, Sue Schneider, welcome to the Global Gaming Women Fair Game podcast. So excited to have you here. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Yes. You are an absolute legend in the industry. I just mentioned with Lauren, right? I reminded everybody to go listen back to the first episode because I share an anecdote about how you are actually the catalyst, the real reason for me even working in the casino gaming industry and, being where I am today. So it really all started with you and you've been the most impactful, right? Kind of unofficial. It's not like we have a formal mentorship program, but right, like your influence and your, just impact in my life has been so tremendous. And I know that I can speak for so many people that you've done that for a lot of individuals. So we love you, Sue.
Well, that's great to hear.
Yeah.
And you were a quick study. You were like the textbook case of what you do when you meet somebody and follow up the next day.
Yes. Yes. Networking event is the appetizer. Exactly. Yes. Well, I could not imagine a better expert to speak on the topics today about, right, the culture of our industry, the evolution of it, how industry events have impacted that. So thrilled. And then I just can't believe this is the first interview to really dive into the holistic, aspect of your career journey. So very excited to discuss and highlight. And with that said, let's start with, your origin story. Tell us how you got started with your career. I hadn't even known it until our prep call. I think it's so unique and special and it completely makes sense. So yeah, let's hear it. Tell us about your early days.
Well, I think the main thing is a lot of people don't realize I have a past life in social services. So my undergraduate's in psychology, my master's is in not-for-profit administration, and I spent 12 years, I wasn't even quite out of college yet when I became executive director of a youth service agency. So this was in 1974, so that was a ways back. But we had a runaway shelter. We ended up growing it over that 12 years to include a group home, foster care, alternative school, just a variety of services for kids between the ages of 12 and 18 that were abused or neglected for the most part. So it was a tremendous experience. We were fortunate to have federal funding in addition to state, local, United Way, all of that. So I got involved with a national network of services like ours, made some lifelong friends out of that. And that's where I got my policy wonk start, because I really was on a policy committee. Again, it was federal funding, so we had to kind of continue to advocate for that on a ongoing basis. So it was a lot of fun. That was my first brush with gambling, believe it or not, is because one of our fundraisers, our largest fundraiser, really was bingo. So I would get up there and call bingo. Hated it. Those little old ladies would roll you in the parking lot if you came out with the number
Oh my
wrong.
gosh.
So that was my only time as an operator, actually.
That is, and it's so interesting to me and not surprising, right? That you started in nonprofit and services because of the impact that you've had on global gaming women and all of these unique that opportunities within the casino gaming industry, that it's so obvious how much you care. And it's so obvious how much, your, warm intention and, unique perspective makes such an impact. So I love that.
Well, and I do love that side of things. I mean, even once I got into gaming in '95, we incubated a couple different organizations. We incubated IMGL, which is Gaming Attorneys. We incubated Interactive Gaming Council, which was an organization that started in 1996 and really was set up to, that was truly the Wild West at that point in time. So we ended up very quickly with about 120 companies globally that were getting into that business. And I, for better or worse, chaired that for 8 years because nobody else wanted to get their mug out there. But it was like herding cats. I mean, we started out trying to do self-regulation. And because there was a lack of any regulation for in the early days, and so we would have our meetings and try to come up with the standards and things like that. And there would be 100 people in the room, and there would be 3 women, and so it was quite an experience.
Yeah, that is so, I love that the transferable nature of how your skill sets have continued to expand and continue to impact and grow. And I love it too, because I originally wanted to go into nonprofit. That's actually what I studied as well. So wasn't surprised to find out another thing we have in common. But yeah, I was, when I was interning for nonprofit Susan G. Komen, I realized that the people who are making the biggest difference were those who are actually serving on the boards. So I was like, ooh, I want to be, serving on boards. And, my mom really inspired that in me too. She's done a lot of, board work, service work. My whole family's been very service oriented, but yeah, I love that. And then also too, so you were telling me your master's thesis was on networking, right?
Yeah, that was 1980. And, again, I kind of grew up with all that. My dad was the local volunteer fire chief. My mom was always a Red Cross Gray Lady, which was volunteering in the hospital. And, just getting out there and it's, I know I'm kind of jumping ahead, but I mean, one of the suggestions I always have for people as they're building their career is to get involved with groups, get involved with an association, get involved with your local chamber if you're on a local level, because I really saw the benefit of that. I mean, in my company, when I had River City Group, which was an event and publication company that we had from like 99 till we sold in 2006, it was really set up to, we became a clearinghouse essentially. And, what that did was that then, I was getting interviews on national television about the internet gaming legislation or prohibition bills, things like that. I was able to testify in Congress a couple of times related to it. So all of that was related to getting it out and getting involved in groups like that. Yeah. But it had a positive impact on the company too. So it's something that I think those things go hand in hand.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so powerful. You never know, right, with intentional positioning where you're going to end up. You said kind of your whole career has been relatively unplanned. Like it's just, you've moved through.
Very much so. I am one to just kind of go with the flow. And I really, it's an odd situation because I've just really not ever had a plan career wise. Things get in my way. I decide whether I want to do them or not. For me, one of the prerequisites is having fun.
Yes.
And, I've just been very, very fortunate and very blessed in that regard, partially because I've been able to really attract some really good people to work with.
Yeah.
And it's been, it's just been a trip to go back and look at that and say, wow, how did that happen? I go back to the people that I worked with on runaway shelters nationally. We did a reunion probably 6-7 years ago now, and they're going, "You're doing what?"
Yeah.
Because most of them are still in either nonprofit or government roles. Those that are still working. So I veered off dramatically from the rest of them. They get kind of a kick out of it.
I'm so inspired by that, especially the prerequisite being fun. And I couldn't agree more. It's like, you never know where life is going to take you. Like, be open to the pivots. It, could bring the biggest joy and happiness and fun and success. So, so inspired by that. So what was it like? Because you've seen this evolution of the industry. You've seen all these ups and downs. You've testified to Congress, all of these things. So what was it like for you? And what were you doing when PASPA was overturned? How did that change? How did that pivot your trajectory?
Well, that I never thought. I mean, I'm definitely older. I'm 73 now. But when that was going on, I really didn't expect it would ever be legalized in my lifetime, to be honest with you. We fought it and fought it for so long. And then when the prohibition bill did finally get passed, kind of in the dead of night, tacked onto another bill, I remember the next morning I got a call from Frank Fahrenkopf with AGA, and he's like, "Uh-oh, I want to tell you what happened last night."
No.
And I was like, "Oh man." So and I really do credit New Jersey, the number of folks there who really carried the torch. And had they not been as persistent as they've been with the legal challenges, we still wouldn't be where we are now. I mean, I'm still shocked that there's like 38 plus states that have legalized it in the last 6 years. So, I mean, it's just really been an odd set of circumstances that I don't think people really could have predicted the whole ups and downs that have gone on with the industry.
Yeah. I love too what you're saying about New Jersey and the, persistence and how that was, such an instrumental part of this. I feel like you could apply that to anything, right? Just keep going. Like, don't give up, right? There are so many stories like that. And I feel like that could impact any part of life and career, right? Just persistence is key.
Yeah. And I think in the case of New Jersey, I think they ended up with like 7 losses. But when they brought it all the way to the Supreme Court, that was the one that mattered. So, they were able to make that one work. So they developed a really good team over the years also. And it really went from the governor through the legislators, through nonprofit advocates that were pushing for this, and the industry. So it's been interesting to watch, but lots of twists and turns that you couldn't, a writer would never come up with some of these things.
Yeah.
So
even more exciting. I love that. Well, I love this industry so much. And, especially the unique culture that we have that I think is just so special. And, people definitely don't realize from the outside. A big kind of a reason for the idea of this episode, right, came to me when earlier this year, unfortunately, I dealt with a big family emergency, and it ended up being right before SBC Summit North America, one of my favorite industry events. And I was promoted last summer, and the colleague that I transitioned most of my portfolio to, Abigail, she's the freaking best. I love her. So it was going to be her first SBC Summit North America, and the two of us were going to go together. I was going to be like really introducing her to the industry. And then, the week before, I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to be in the hospital with my family, this, huge thing, all of it. And I felt so bad for Abigail because I was like, oh my gosh, you're going to be going to this, industry event totally solo, this, big thing. And not that she wouldn't be amazing. She's thrives on her own, which is actually something that, you know, I feel like I've been able to teach her actually because of my inspiration from you, Sue. Like, I love how you're always, you know, kind of running around the trade show floor. You're solo, but you're never alone because you're beat bopping around and meeting it with so many different people. And I love that. I try to emulate that too. You know, I don't want to partner up with anyone. I'm like, let me be solo because, right, I know I won't be alone because I know so many people in the industry. But anyway, she would have been great. But I, you know, definitely wanted to set her up for success. And so I went on a rampage while I was at the hospital with LinkedIn messages, emails, texts to anybody I knew who was going to be at SBC Summit North America, whether they were an Insight Global client, you know, a friend or an acquaintance through networking, even some people that I knew that we were trying to work with, right? And, you know, hadn't necessarily become Insight Global clients yet. So dozens of people, and not one person didn't absolutely wrap their arms around Abigail. And I was moved to tears like multiple times that week, getting selfies and updates on these meetups. And I was like, this isn't normal. This is so special. And also like the dynamic, right? Like, of course, Insight Global, we're recruiting and professional services and, you know, true extension of our clients' business, you know, true partners. But especially when you're in an event setting, we're salespeople. We're salespeople at, you know, a trade show and industry event. So that dynamic to really have everybody wrap their arms so much around a vendor, I was like, this is special. And I love this industry so much. I could not be more proud to be a part of it. So what do you think it is? Like, what's the secret sauce? Like, what is it that makes our industry as special and unique and tight knit and innovative and uplifting as it is?
That's a really good question because, you know, I mean, I've been known for a long time at industry events that are not ones that either my company or SBC that I've been associated with for the last 6 years put on for, you know, like when I go visit a city, I'll pull together people that are in the industry that I know because I know a lot of people.
You're a connector.
But they don't necessarily know each other.
Yeah.
And I'm always amazed, especially when you go into a city and you think, you know, there's probably 15, 20, depending on the city. That's on the small end. There could be way more than that. But why do these people not know each other? Mm-hmm. And, you know, why are they not getting together on a regular basis? I mean, we do it here in Missouri. So it's just, I think there's kind of a hunger for that. Mm-hmm. And I've over the years kind of been known for using other people's resources. It's like, I'll put the event together and I'll invite the right people. You pay for it.
You're good at that.
It's
yeah, we've done that.
I've developed a reputation for that, but it works. And there are some cities. Denver now is doing their own meetups, and Philadelphia, they're doing meetups on a regular basis. So, you know, it is starting to really catch on more. But I think there's just, I think because of the nature of the industry and because people are used to meeting people from around the world, but not necessarily, you know, ever meeting them in person, that there's really kind of a hunger for that kind of thing. So it's easy to put those things together.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. And I love this so much because it's very clear that you are a huge piece of the culture of this industry because of those connections. You are a connector, right? And I love to, like, I've been really inspired by this and try to do this myself now too. Like, I love the way you do these quick email intros. You're like, hey, I think you guys would relate on this. We'll leave it to you all to connect. And I try to do that now too. I'm like, oh, I think you should talk to this person. We'll leave it to you all to connect. And it's just like a quick 2-second, right? Like email from your iPhone, whatever. And you're so good at that. And so you are a big reason, I think, for the culture of this industry and people like you. Yeah.
Well, I don't know about that, but I do enjoy connecting people because just whether it's on a personal level or whether it's through a potential business connection or things like that. I mean, you know, we talked about that earlier. You were a perfect example of how to do things right because we met online during COVID. Mm-hmm. At a GGW sipping social, and you were in my room, and I mean, you got back with me the next day, and the next thing I know, you're putting together a job fair for our virtual summit that we did online during COVID. So, I mean, you know, that's the kind of thing, and not everybody's comfortable or has the personality for that level of initiative, and that's where I think partially, and particularly, I think a lot of women maybe don't, they're seen as, they feel like they could be seen as too aggressive or whatever.
Pretty aggressive.
So, I think that people that do have the inclination to do that and have a comfort level with that will go far because they are able to push it. What I would like to see is more, and GGW is doing this, and another number of other companies are doing this, where they're trying to give, again, particularly women, the kind of the tools. How do you build your own brand? How do you deal with things on LinkedIn so that you're able to really tell your own personal story?
Yeah.
So that kind of stuff is fun to watch.
Yes. Yeah. The digital storytelling. Exactly. And you've done so much too. Like one of my favorite things about you, Sue, is that you don't just admire a problem, and you're one of those leaders that I realize is actually quite a rare quality, right? You actually have this combination of this amazing vision, this macro vision. You have this great perspective and you know it needs to be done. But then you're also an executor. You're going to roll up your sleeves and you're not just going to admire this problem or hold a vision. You're like, okay, I think this, now I'm going to do it, right? You're not just sitting around waiting for it to be done. I love that so much about you.
I think it's kind of an illness on my part. I don't know. I mean, there's times when I think, what did I do? But, I love starting things.
Yeah.
I don't like things as much when they kind of get into the maintenance phase, but starting things is really, really fun to me. And that's been the case really from the very beginning. I have realized recently that I started that in college. My husband and I went to San Francisco City College for a couple of years, and then we came back to the St. Louis area, and we were at the University of Missouri at St. Louis. And I just recently found this newsletter from there that where I was involved with a group that it was called Women for a Change, which we thought was pretty clever.
Love that.
But we advocated for a women's center on the campus there, and we were successful in getting that. The chancellor did fund it and things like that.
Amazing.
And I realized that was 50 years ago, like almost exactly 50 years ago.
Wow.
So
my gosh.
That was a little scary. I've been at this for a while.
Sue, that is so amazing. Thank you so much. And also too, that's interesting. Exactly 50 years ago, it was exactly 50 years ago when women could finally open up a bank account without a male cosigner. So that same year, you're starting that women's center. That is powerful.
Yeah.
Oh.
And, it was the era of Ms. Magazine and Our Bodies, Ourselves and things like that. And here we are still fighting that stuff.
Yeah.
So people have to be persistent.
Yes.
And we will be persistent.
Yes. Back to the persistence. You're so right. Yeah. That just, it kills me. I think especially a lot of like millennial and Gen Z women don't realize how new this is, how recent that was, how fragile this progress is. You're so right. We have to keep going. Like we cannot.
And women my age are like, oh man, didn't we do this once already? So it's kind of sad.
A lot more work to do. But honestly, like good segue, because you've done, right, like going back to like you rolling up your sleeves and like you're talking about, what you did 50 years ago, you're still doing it to this day. Like the initiatives that, right, you put together, the ideas that you brought to life, the visions that you brought to life, right? I mean, bringing together all of the female CEOs, right, when you're at these industry events, our event that we did, our like small dinner round, table last summer about how can we avoid manuals at industry events, right? This amazing startup incubator that you're about to, launch, defying all odds. I mean, also too, just your active involvement with Global Giving Women, right? Like we could keep going, but what have been some of your favorite initiatives that, you have really brought to life? And how have you seen them impact the industry, right? Why did you found them and what was the experience like?
Well, I think the one that you referenced, which is more recent, is one that I really enjoy. We started during COVID. Kelly Keene and I, she's with All in Diversity Project, and she and I started just calls with what for the longest time I was just calling lady bosses, but it was like CEOs, general managers, managing directors, board members, presidents. It's just all lady bosses. So we finally started meeting after COVID kind of ran its course. We started meeting in person at various industry events and just doing an informal networking. And we thought, okay, we got to call this thing something. So we did a little crowdsourcing and on the name and came up with SheEOs. And it's really, I think we're up to like 140 that we've identified globally, which is
Amazing.
both a great number and an appalling number.
Yeah, you're right.
That it's not more than that. So, and that goes across the board. It could be, a chief regulator. It could be head of some of the nonprofits that are here for, problem gaming or whatever the issue is. Many of them are with suppliers. Some are founders of startups. And some are running, big operator companies. So it's been fun to watch that because finally, I think we're seeing the percentage of female management come to fruition and board membership, which is also really, really key. So that's one that's really been kind of fun to get off the ground.
Yeah. And it's so important because as we know, right, we have the data to prove it. We've got the research, right? McKinsey's Lean In report, right? Women in the workplace every year. And there's so much more, the benchmarking that All in Diversity Project has done, et cetera. But we all know that, right, executive teams with, at least 30% more, females, far outpace consistently, right, the increase in revenue, the increase of innovation than teams that have less than that or no women. So it's like the data, the research is there, and you're not just looking at the research and saying, oh, it needs to change. You're literally being that change. You're creating that change and making that happen. So thank you.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's just me, but when I come across somebody that I've not met before and I start looking in their company, I immediately go to their board page and their management page. And if those people all look pretty much the same, then, it's something that I think I'm not as excited. I probably should be more excited about working with them to try to push them a little bit. But, it's telling.
Yeah.
It tells you what the culture is like.
You're right.
So.
You're right. Yeah, the homogenous, aspect, it does not lead to diversity of thought. Does not lead.
No. And that's really one of the reasons that we've started this new endeavor.
Yeah.
I will be at SBC's Global Summit in Lisbon soon, and then I'm going to be wrapping up my time with them at the end of September. And I've gotten involved with a new venture called Defy the Odds with Paris Smith and Kelly Keene, and it's meant to really kind of foster innovation in the industry, but to look a little bit past that, to look at female founders, diverse founding teams, just something a little bit different to give folks a chance to let them take advantage of our networks and that sort of thing. So we're looking at kind of a launch pad scenario. We're looking for startups that are out there that fit that criteria. We're looking for partners. We're going to be partnering with Zero Labs at their cohort that they're doing right before G2E. So the intent is really to try to open some doors for some other folks. I mean, there are very talented young founders that are out there now, but again, they tend to all kind of look alike. So we want to break that loose a little bit if possible.
Yes. Oh, I'm so excited about that. So
we've had a couple of CEOs that have done exits with the companies that they founded that they did exits earlier this spring. And so it's kind of fun to be able to point to some success stories and say, they founded these companies and that they've successfully sold them. That's where I feel like I can be kind of helpful because I went through that process myself with the company that I had. So, it's, and my experience is that all of those women that do that kind of thing are very eager to help other ones coming up.
Exactly. Yes. Rising tides lift all boats. Absolutely. And you have to have these, female executives, founders, et cetera, these decision makers in, these decision-making rooms to understand and market to the demographic that they're serving and that they probably don't even realize that they're serving, right? We know also through data and research that the female user growth rate on, the apps, the sports betting apps, that has really been far outpacing men year over year over year since PASPA was overturned. Not to say that there are more women on the apps, but that user growth rate, right? That's pushing revenue, that we have to look at, what those demographics are that are bringing more revenue to the industry. And we have to have that diversity of perspective in those rooms to market to those demographics. So, it's so
and part of it is just getting adequate support because, I think the Forbes or some other publications have shown that out of investment, VC firms and things like that, not necessarily in our industry. It's frankly, it's probably less in our industry, but like 4% of their funds go to female founders. So, that's part of what we want to do is to try to hopefully get some accurate data from investment firms that are out there now serving this industry on what they're doing now, try to get a commitment from them to maybe bump that up some. I personally would like to work with, there are a number of women focused VC firms that fund female startups, but they're phobic about the gaming industry. Oh. So that's one area I'd like to do a little bit of work to reach out to them and hold their hand and say, look, why don't you consider some of these? Yeah. These are tech companies, essentially. They could be in payments. They could be in marketing. They could be in AI. They could be in data research. So, there's a variety of things. So they shouldn't just say no to that just out of a matter of course.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I just had a light bulb moment about a connection that I can't wait to make for you. So this is good.
Okay. That's how it works.
On that note, yes. So what would you say, in closing, what is your, best advice for really anyone in the industry, right, to continue with what needs to be happening in order for the industry to maintain this, really special culture that we have, to make sure that these industry events continue on with, the amazing impact that they've had, and also, right, the longevity, the scalability, the success of casino gaming? Because, to your point that you made throughout this conversation, it's fragile. Like, we didn't even think that we would be where we are. So, what is your best advice to keep, pushing this forward and continue to progress?
I think just on a personal level for people, it's more to just get out of your comfort zone, really, and to get out and meet people. And, it's not easy for everybody. And that's the thing that I think we have to remember, that, a lot of people just don't have a comfort level with that. But, I think the more you push yourself, the more you build your own personal brand, and do it with integrity. That's the one thing. Authenticity. We had kind of a rough start at the beginning when there weren't a lot of regulatory processes. Now we've probably gone to the other extreme. But, you have to do things with integrity, because, people always pointed to like sports books in Costa Rica, and it's like, they didn't really have a licensing regime there. You got a data processing license or something like that. So, but, yet there were good companies that came out of there because they took good care of players. They did things right just from out of their own ethics. So I think as long as you're doing things ethically and with the right intent, then you're going to go far in this industry. It is very much, especially the iGaming and sports betting side, is a small town. Yes. And when I've done consulting with people, I've always told them, it's like, my value is big picture, and it's to let you know who to do business with, but more importantly, who not to do business with, because they may have, just really screwed somebody over in a deal or whatever. So it's you have to really look at how you're set up and how you operate and make sure you do it the right way.
Yes. Yes. That reputation is so important. To your point, it's this, small world that we live in, which I think is one of the things that makes it so special, that tight knit, aspect, and how, like, people say this about Vegas, but I think this applies to the casino gaming industry as well. The concept of, there's this saying in Vegas, it's like, all right, this town's 2.3 million people and all 50 of them. And, right. I feel that about casino gaming, right? You're just always a degree of separation away. And I love that.
Yeah.
And to your point, it's really important to maintain that good reputation.
Well, and it used to be funny at ICE when I had River City Group. I kept watching people meeting up at our booth, two disparate people, and it was like, why are you guys meeting here? And he goes, well, you guys are kind of the Switzerland of the industry. And it was like, okay, I'll take that as a compliment.
Yeah.
But that, they like the neutrality, they like the objectivity, that sort of thing. And we felt like as publishers and event producers, we had to do that, or, come back and bite us.
Yeah.
So.
Which is probably another reason that you have this beautifully wide, full ranging perspective about the industry and the culture and events. And I feel like we're, similar in that regard with Insight Global, because like we're working with everyone. It doesn't matter if you're an operator or manufacturer, doesn't matter if you're competitors. We're still, providing services and recruiting for your team. So it's nice to have that really, really far reaching perspective to make, bigger impact as well. So I love that.
Yeah. And it makes for a successful business. So,
Yeah.
there's a business case for taking that approach to things.
Yes. Yes. Oh, love that. So, okay. My favorite way to close out all the Spotlight series interviews is asking, right, the best compliment that you've ever received and how it has positively impacted you and, or, changed the trajectory of your life, your career, affirmed, something that, you needed to be affirmed.
Well, I almost have to go back to that last point. I've heard a number of times that people just feel like personally that I've operated ethically, and I'm not comfortable lying about things. I'm not comfortable playing a lot of favorites and things like that. So, and I've heard that from a number of people. So I'd say probably if I have to pick one thing out, that's one thing that I would be proud of.
Yeah.
That I have that kind of approach to, particularly doing business in kind of a vice industry. It's, it could be a challenge at times. It's not the do good nonprofit path that I started with.
The dichotomy. Yes. I love that too, because so one of my favorite quotes, and you're so spot on, like authenticity is so powerful. And, you never even quite realize, like, especially you're just living your life and being authentic, like how that is impacting people around you. So one of my favorite quotes is, oh my gosh, I'm forgetting who it's by. It's so good. I'll have to link it in the show notes. But the quote goes, right, sometimes, right, if you are just living an authentic life in systems that weren't built for you, that authenticity, right, that is your activism. Your authenticity is simply your activism. And so I love that, right? Just being genuine, it takes you very far, as we can see.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And again, it was a challenge shifting from a kind of a charitable approach for 12 years. And then I had about 10 years where I was doing a lot of freelance writing and editing, and then jumped into this. And even my family were like, what are you doing? But it's been a wild ride, and I've enjoyed it thoroughly. It's been fun to watch the industry grow the way it has.
Yes. And your impact in it. But yeah, those through lines, those transferable skill sets, so important. Well, Sue, thank you so much. Cannot wait to celebrate, you at G2E and all these new amazing things that you're doing, the beautiful things that you're sunsetting, the amazing, initiatives that you started, founded, organized, the impact that you've had. It is so wildly inspiring. I can't even, find enough words to thank you for the impact that you've made. So we so appreciate having you here.
Kind of you to say that. So it's been fun.
Yes. Well, thank you so much. See you soon. How amazing was that?
It's so incredible.
I love
She's
Sue.
So cool.
Yes.
Fangirling.
I know, seriously, like absolutely. Sue's
I think
fan
when
club.
you said industry legend, I was like, solidified.
Yes, 100%. And I love that, right? She started a nonprofit, right? Like did her master's work on networking. Not surprised at all.
No, networking queen. That's what we're going to,
yes.
It's official.
I've learned it from Sue. Thank you, Sue. So many people have learned it from Sue. Oh, I love it. Well, excited to close out with our favorite parts of all the episodes. Let's do some rapid fire in the theme of industry culture, industry events. So excited for G2E in a couple of weeks. So
love a good theme. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. Back to the themes. I like the randomness in our last episode though too.
That was good.
A good mashup, mix up. But okay, great. So industry events. Do you prefer working a booth or hosting a networking party?
Oh crap, that one's hard. I like both. I think if the carpet's right, I could be in a booth all day showing games. But a networking party is a networking party, right?
Yeah.
Like meeting people and talking to people in the industry is incredible. It gives you great vibes and just you feel good. So yeah. Can I say both?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, I agree. Both
okay,
as
good.
well.
It's our
because
game. We make the rules.
Yeah, exactly. It's our game. Yes. Fair game. Duh. Also, I thought you were going to say, because you were talking about, right, showing off your products, at the beginning. So I thought you were going to say booth.
Well, it's what I meant. Like if the carpet's good, I could do it all day and I love it. Like, yeah. Passion for that. So
yeah. But
I'm going
agree.
to both.
Love a good party. And Incomparable, we're doing our first booth at G2E this year. So
exciting.
Check us out.
I'll come over.
Yeah. My answer might change, but I would say networking party. Okay, so public speaking. Would you rather be a moderator, a panelist, or give a keynote presentation?
I've done all three. So, I like moderating.
I agree.
I do like moderating.
Yes.
It's cool. It feels a little bit like I'm along this vibe, right? Like to to bring out the best in people and let them shine. And I enjoy doing that. So
yes,
I'm going to say moderating.
I completely agree. I love to, like really pull out those stories, impactful stories. And also like, this is just clicking with me. Duh. Of course, our answer is moderator. We're the co-host of the podcast.
What we're doing right now.
Wasn't a good rapid fire question. My bad. Okay. So favorite international trade show city, London or Barcelona?
London. Yeah.
Agreed.
I'm going to ICE. I love that trade show. I love that city. That vibe is so cool. So London.
Yeah. I would agree because I have not been to Barcelona yet.
Oh,
yes.
hey.
Or Portugal, which I know is going to be a, shift for SBC in 2025, but so excited. We're probably going to be leaning in Insight Global to international trade shows in 2025. So I can't wait because I've only been to ICE.
All
so
right.
yay. Okay. Coolest experiential activation that you've seen that you remember?
There's been so many of them, but my favorite was in the Aristocrat booth one year. We had the Game of Thrones chair.
Ooh.
Like I don't watch Game of Thrones, but like don't judge me. But we had the chair and it was really cool, and you got to sit on like the throne, and like it was like legit from the set, so it was really cool. And that was a fun. If I can find that picture, I'll show you. It's really funny.
Amazing. That's such a good idea.
I made the best dramatic face like you could ever see.
I can imagine.
Photo. Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah.
So yeah, Game of Thrones.
Also, that's so smart too. Like on brand with like pop culture. Gotta lean into that. That makes a cool experiential activation.
Marketing crew has it dialed in.
Yeah. I'm impressed. I'm inspired. I love anything with a prize. Give me a game. Like I'll come engage with your booth. Whatever it is. A raffle, a wheel.
Okay,
and like, what
love
can I
that.
win? Yeah. It's experiential for me. All right. What about most impactful session topic?
For me, I love this kind of stuff. I think GGW does a great job putting some panels together, and they're really inspirational about journeys of women in this industry. And that's both the operator and the manufacturer side, and journeys like your own too, right? They're not necessarily within this industry, but you're connected to it in a massive way. And I think anything that could teach me about other women's journeys, I think is really cool.
Yeah, I agree. So my answer is, we just did, CCon, Sports Entertainment Innovation, right? Like first year was in July here in Vegas. UNLV partnered with Sierra Cruz to bring it to life. And I was on this panel that originally was supposed to be around, right? Like, female empowerment membership associations in the industry. So I was supposed to talk about WISE. We had WIST in there as well. Women in Sports Tech. Dr. Nancy Lowe was moderating all that. And as we were doing our prep call the week before, we were like, okay, how many times have we been on panels around gender equity and the room clears out, right? In favor of, and the conference organizers, they always want you to be on the main stage because they're like, this is so important. It's like, I completely agree with you, but it's like it's this competitiveness for like the sexy like topics or whatever. So in our planning session, we were like, okay, let's change our topic title. Let's trick everybody to like get them here. And then we'll still talk about gender equity. So we changed our session topic title to Secrets to Innovation, because it is the secret to innovation. More, gender diverse teams always yield better return. We've seen that in research time and time again. So we tricked everyone. We had so many men in the audience, and then we like hammered the point home around gender equity and innovation. And I love it.
What a cool experience.
So I need to start a little secret session topic with a trick. It's a favorite. Okay, I already know your answer here, I think. But okay, G2E, GGW events. Kick up your heels or lean in breakfast.
Yes. So they are both amazing. Both events. Like we've said, I think in past episodes, if you want to network and you want to get to know people in this industry, these GGW events are where it's at. But for me, the Lean In Breakfast has a pretty special place in my heart. I'm, been a part of the planning team now for, I'm not going to say how many years. I hate aging myself. I do that all the time. But a long time. And we've taken it, to pretty big extents, right? Like it's a really cool event that I think people actually really do look forward to every year, and it sells out, and it's just such a cool experience. It's the end of the show, so everybody's tired, and for some reason it's 8 a.m. in the morning on the last day, but nobody cares about that. They show up their best selves, and they're ready to network, and it's just this powerful room full of people that want to get to know each other and find connections. And
I love it as well. I know. Great job. Thank you for what you created. Because I agree. It's amazing. And especially the intentionality around engagement, right? How you hop to your different tables, and it's kind of like that, almost like forced networking, right? But it gets people out of their comfort zone. It really gets people interacting. Like I was with your dad actually last year. I was like, I'm about to do the podcast with Lauren. I was like, nice to meet you. My answer actually is kick up your heels because of last year when you asked me about the podcast. at Kick Up Your Heels.
Oh.
So that'll always have like a special place in my heart. I love that. That was so fun.
Okay, well now that's partly my favorite answer.
Yeah.
Too. How cute.
I know.
Okay.
Thank you. It was so fun. I know. And we didn't really like totally know each other that well yet. So
No.
it was just like a really special moment.
But again, proving how powerful networking is,
Yeah.
right? Like somebody just said, I think you guys would be great together and
Yeah.
you know, you should go meet this person. And, you know, I kind of only just knew of you and
Yeah,
look at where we're at now.
exactly.
We're hosting the longest rapid fire question sessions of all time.
Exactly. Here we go. Look at the chemistry. Wait, this is actually such a perfect closeout to the whole theme of networking and
Yeah.
events. That was, yeah, perfectly.
It's like we planned that.
I know. It is, but we did it,
But we
y'all.
didn't.
It's a surprise. But yeah, well, I'm so excited for G2E. I can't
know, me
wait.
too.
It's
I
going to
know,
be
me too.
great.
You're going to see us pop out, you know, a couple places. We're going to do some fun things this year. And of course, come see us at Kick Up Your Heels and come see us at the Lean and Breakfast Sip and Social on the last day of the show. And we will help network and we'll be out there and
Yeah.
it'll be so much fun.
Yeah, I'll be running around the floor with a mic.
I know, I can't wait. The tiny mic. I've always wanted to do this, so I'm really excited.
I know. So find me. I'll interview you. Little popcast. Can't wait.
All right. We'll see you
Yeah.
at G2E.
Yeah, see you at G2E.